it's Jolene here from the Best Vinyl Cutters. I have got a super cute little tutorial for you today, all about how to make these really cool infusible ink designs on shirts. So this is what I'm creating. Of course, you can follow this whole tutorial, change your design, and still get exactly the same results. So I've got a little girl, she's 4, she's into anything ballerina at the moment, and I found this really cool little design on Google, and I just chucked the word dance with it to finish it up. It looks so cute. Pair it with a really cute little skirt, and you're sweet. So this is what we're making today, and I'm so excited to show you how to work with infusible inks. So this tutorial is perfect for beginners. I'm going to go fairly slow so that I can show you exactly everything that I do. I've got quite a few tips and hacks as well to share with you, so I'm really excited. Number one, of course, you need a cutting machine. I'm using the Cricut Maker. You can use the Explorer 2, you can use a Silhouette machine, a Brother machine, you can use the Cricut Joy if your design is smaller in size. It doesn't really matter. Next up, you need your green standard grip mat. So this is for the Cricut people. Your green mat is perfect for infusible ink, so make sure you've got that one close by. And then you need your infusible ink transfer sheets. So I'm going to be using a black, and then I'm also going to be using this box, which I'm grabbing the pink, the orange, and the blue from. So it's actually called Splash Pad. So if you wanted to use exactly the same as I have, those are the two things that I'm using. On top of that, you need a few tools. We need a brayer. It's not super duper essential, but it's best not to touch the infusible ink sheets as much as possible. But we still have to touch it to actually weed and stuff like that. But a brayer is recommended. If you don't have one, that's okay. Just make sure your hands are washed so that we can get all the oils and things off your hands and nicely dried as well. You need some scissors, of course. You need a tweezer just for at the end to pick things up. Not essential, but helpful. And then a few other things as well. So you need your Easy Press for this. So I'm just using the Easy Press 9x9 inch there. I just held it in a really hard manner because it's still hot. You need ideally for your press to be bigger than your design. The idea with infusible ink is that we don't move the heat around. Because it's ink settling into the shirt, that movement can interfere with how it actually sublimates onto the shirt. So if you have an easy press or a heat press that's bigger than your design, that's perfect. If you only have the mini easy press, you need to make sure you're constantly moving it. Just don't stop. Don't apply more heat to one area than the other areas. Otherwise, the color there might be a lot more brighter and it might look a bit weird. I don't recommend an iron, but it is doable. So if that's all you have, give it a go. Same thing, just make sure you're moving it all the time. Together with that, we need an easy press mat. I really don't recommend a towel. With HTV, I often say use a folded towel. In this case, we really want a smooth surface. So an easy press mat is going to help you to create a professional look. On top of that, we need either white cardstock. If you don't have white cardstock like me, you can just grab some printer paper. I've just stacked like some printer paper on top of each other to create the thickness of a cardstock. Then you need some butcher paper. The butcher paper comes inside of your infusible ink box, so you don't need to purchase this separately. And then we also need a few extra things that's handy to have, but not necessarily essential. The handy things to have is some heat tape. So the infusible ink sheets are sticky, but they're not super sticky. So sometimes they curl up a bit, which can be frustrating. And having some proper heat tape to just make sure it's stuck down is a really good idea. Make sure it's heat tape. It has to be heat resistant for that easy press. Normal tape will not work. So make sure you've got some of that. If you don't, you'll still be able to pull it off, but I do recommend this. The second thing that I love to have here is a light pad. And the reason for it is because I've got different colors to my design, so I'm not just using one color, I have to build up my design before I apply it. Infusible ink does not like to be layered, so we need to build it first. I'll show you how to do that exactly. But in order to do that really easily, I like to print off my design and then have a light pad where I can pop that on top and I can really easily see what I'm doing. So you'll see me using this. It's definitely not essential. Even just having this printed out and next to you so you can see where you're applying each of the elements, that will do too. But a light pad just makes it that much easier. The third, I think we're up to three. The third thing that I absolutely love that's not essential but super handy to have is a t-shirt alignment guide. So this t-shirt alignment is really, really handy to keep your designs straight. So what we do with this is we pop the shoulders over the top. It's kind of got like a little tag box there. We try and align our tag up to that. You can give it a bit of a shake and a wiggle. And now you've got an area here to keep your design aligned as well as have it the perfect height underneath the actual collar, the neckline. So there we go. So very handy. Once you get into crafting a lot and you know that you're using heat transfer vinyl, infusible ink a lot on shirts, it's definitely really handy to buy and have in your stash. I've got an alignment for onesies, toddlers, youth shirts, and then adult shirts as well. And I use them all the time. And lastly, before we hop into the tutorial, is my complete guide to Cricut Cheat Sheets. This book is full of cheat sheets and we're going to use quite a few of them today on infusible ink. But it helps you from going to the internet to find answers to things that you could simply grab your book and look up instead and keep crafting, because that's what I would love you to do, is just to keep crafting and have loads of fun and no stress preferably is allowed. All right, so I think it's time to hop into this. I am very quickly just going to talk about resizing your decal and then we're going to get straight into all of the fun bits. All right, so before we get to cutting, I have to make sure that I've got the right size here for my decal. So in my Cricut Cheat Sheet Book, there's 80 cheat sheets in here. Absolutely fantastic value, very, very popular. And there's 2 sheets in here that I'm going to use today. So number 1, in the heat transfer vinyl section, I have my sizing and placement sheet. So here I've got the youth t-shirt, I've got a small, so it tells me to make my decal around 7 inches. And it also tells me to have my decal about 1.5 to 2 inches below the neckline as well. So now that I know what size decal I need to make, I'm going to go ahead and hop into Cricut Design Space and resize my decal so that we can get to the fun bit, which is the cutting out stage. All right, so here I am. This is the decal I want to work with. So all I'm going to do at this point is to just resize it in the width, and I want to make it about 7 inches in size. And then what I need to do is just to double check this height and make sure if I put that on my shirt that I'm going to have enough space for it. So I'm just grabbing my shirt and a ruler and I'm just going to have a quick measure to make sure that's perfectly fine. And I think that's a really good size there. So I am really happy with that. All right. And then what we have to do at this point is to obviously click on Make It. So it's going to separate my bits out onto different sheets. I've got 4 mats. I've got a black one, I've got an orange one, I've got a yellow one, and then I also have a pink one. So I'm just going to click on Continue here. Wait for my machine to connect up. I'm going to choose my Infusible Ink Transfer sheet. What we need to do at this point is obviously to make sure that we have the mirror switched on. So underneath you've got the mirror, and we just need to make sure that that button is toggled on to all of our mats. So toggle it on. Great, make sure you go back up to the black so that that's where you start to work. It does have the reminder here to make sure that your mirror is turned on and the material is ink side up. All right, so I hope you're aware of the fact that you need your green standard grip mat for this. So I'm gonna grab my black infusible ink sheet box, and inside you're going to get your infusible ink wrapped up in a black liner. So we just have to cut that up so we can get our infusible ink sheet out. So we've got our black. it kind of looks a little bit more brown, but remember that infusible ink is a lot more brighter and changes color a little bit once it's applied. So this is my black, and all I do is I place it face up onto my sheet. So if you don't know how to work with infusible ink, in my awesome little cheat sheet book, I also have a sheet on how to work with infusible ink. So we've actually got a lot of infusible ink sheets here. We've got when do you need to use infusible ink versus iron-on, everything you want to know about infusible ink. So in the book, it will tell you exactly what to do. So it tells you to have your infusible ink transfer sheet on a green mat. It reminds you to have the colored side up, and it also says to use a brayer to smooth it out. The reason why we want to use a brayer and not our hands as much as possible is because our fingers have got oil on them. And we don't want the oil to get onto these sheets because it will interfere with how that ink actually transfers onto our shirts. So if you don't have a brayer, make sure that you wash your hands and that your hands are really nice and dry before you start working with your infusible ink sheets. Okay, and now obviously all we do is to press our C button to get cutting. So I'm not going to show you while I'm actually cutting out all of these different layers. It's a very simple process of loading up your mat exactly the same way as we did now, pressing the C button and cutting all of your elements. So what I'm going to do is to meet you on the other side of having all of my elements cut out and ready to go. Alright, so now all we have to do is to remove our bits and our pieces from the mat. And to do that, I just flick mine upside down and simply carefully peel the mat away from the infusible ink. Because the infusible ink was rolled up to start off with, it's going to curve a bit, and that's okay. And then all I do is I grab some scissors and I just trim down the area that I need. Infusible ink is fairly easy to work with, so we'll be able to use our fingers here to just peel away all the bits and pieces we want. So all we do is you can give your infusible ink a bit of a roll and a squeeze, and it might sound like a bit of a crack as the pieces crack away from the back. And then all we need to do is just to peel away that excess. Like so. And of course, just go slow if you need to. There we go. Bit of excess in here I need to get off. And then don't forget the inside of your letters as well. And just peel those away. So you can bend your sheet as much as what you want to get a bit of leverage. So that piece is tiny, but instead of using a tool, you can just bend it until one piece, the end flips up, and then you can just slightly pull it off. So there I have my word dance ready. And now what we need to do is to build our beautiful dancing girl. And to do that, we're going to have to build it all on here before applying, because infusible ink doesn't layer very well. Sometimes you can get away with it, but you're taking a chance that's not necessary. So the easiest thing to do is to actually build it first and then to apply all of your colors as one single piece. So she's a lot more detailed. So now it's time to build our girl with all of the beautiful flowers. And the best tip and trick I can give you here is to print out your design, but remember that we've done it in mirror, so you need to turn it upside down. Now you can still see a little bit of what's going on there, but it's not very clear. So if you have a light pad, or if you can invest in one, a light pad or something that brings the light behind it is going to be very, very helpful here. So I'm just going to place her on top, and I've just grabbed a bit of tape here to stick her down so she doesn't move around all the time, because she keeps curling up on me. And now what we need to do is to grab all of our different flowers and to start building it out. So grab your other sheets, again, give it a bit of a crunch up to just release those pieces. And then we're just going to pick them off like so and stick them down in place on the design. So this is sticky. This is a sticky thing, so it will keep your pieces fairly well. It's not perfect, but it does work fairly well. So build up your little picture. Cool. Awesome, I'm nearly done with the pink. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna build her up and then I'll meet you again so that we can move on and you don't have to watch me doing all of these painstaking little bits and pieces. Okay, so there we have our beautiful lady all built up. She's ready to go. So I'm just gonna release her from this backing, get rid of the iPad for a minute, and then we gotta get onto heating up our iPad. Heating up our easy press, I should rather say, and getting this applied. Okay, so what you will need at this point is, of course, an easy press. I really don't recommend an iron. If you can avoid using a mini press, that will be better as well, because we really want to keep the press still. So you need to make sure that your design is smaller than your actual plate of your press. On top of that, we also need the easy press mat. Again, I really don't recommend having a towel for this one because the towel has got way too many bits and pieces of grooves and details in it. And then we need some blank pieces of print paper and a butcher paper, which you will find inside your infusible ink rolls. So find your butcher paper that just lives inside of your rolls. Let me just get rid of, there's a thing in there. So I only need one of those. I can keep the other one. And on top of that, you also need a lint remover, so we can remove some fibers from your shirt and your shirt as well. Okay, so first things first, grab your shirt and just give it a bit of a roll with your lint remover. We want to get rid of any little fibers. If there's any loose fibers on the shirt, it's going to prevent the ink from settling into your actual fabric. So when that lint comes off, there's going to be this tiny little line that's got no ink on it, which is not what we want. So just give it a bit of a clean up if you can. If you can't, see if you can see any obvious little lint pieces that needs to be removed. And then what I want to do is to give it a pre-press. So I want to remove any moisture, I want to remove any wrinkles, and I want to just heat it up for a minute. So pop it down there, grab your easy press. The temperature here is not really the end of the world, so just once while it's heating up, give it a bit of a press on your shirt. And then we're going to wait for the shirt to cool down a little bit while we set the temperature and get everything else set up. So you need to make sure the shirt cools completely. Take it off the easy press mat because the easy press mat is going to keep it warm for longer than what we want. So number one, we want to set the time, which is this clock, the stopwatch. Press the stopwatch, and if it's not on 40 seconds, use your plus and minus to get it to 40 seconds, and then press your stopwatch again to set it. And then for your temperature, we need to set it to 385. So press your temperature, adjust with your plus and minus buttons, and then press your temperature again. And we're going to wait for the seed to go green, which indicates to us that it's hot enough. I'm just going to set this aside a little bit here so that I can build my little tower of supplies. So for our actual setup, I have got a little picture here to indicate to you how to do this. But what we need to do is, first of all, to have your mat. On top of the mat, we're going to have white cardstock. So in my case, I've just got printer paper instead of cardstock. It works as well. There's a few sheets there. And that's really just to protect our mat from any ink that might potentially be going through. So I've got my paper here. Let me just separate that out a bit better. So what we need next, after our mat, our printer paper or cardstock, is our blank, then the design that goes face down, then our butcher paper, and then our easy press 2. So what we're going to do at this point is to pop this inside of the shirt. So the reason for that is because we don't want any ink to go onto the back side of the shirt. So if we pop this inside the shirt, we're going to prevent that from happening. Also make sure that your shirt is nice and cool at this point. So remember, we want it to cool down completely. Great. And now we're going to pop our design on. and some butcher paper on top. So what I want to try and make sure is just that my shirt is as even as I can get it. Another really cool trick that I've got for you is to use an actual t-shirt aligner. So this one is by Lindsay Makes. She's Australian. If you're overseas, you can buy some on Amazon. I don't think they're quite as nifty as this one, but it still does the trick. And you can also make these yourself with some templates that you can buy on Etsy, so if you're really keen. So what I do with this one is I pop this underneath the shoulders. Oop. There we go. And then I can use my ruler to make sure that it's far enough down underneath the neckline. So remember, we want 1.5 to 2 inches underneath the neckline. And I can use my ruler to make sure that I keep my elements straight. So first of all, I have my little girl and I'm going to turn her upside down to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab some heat tape to keep her in position. If I can find my heat tape. So heat tape is very special tape that can handle heat. This is not normal tape. Don't use normal tape. It has to be a heat tape. If you don't have a heat tape, as you can see, she's keeping pretty much in position there because she's got a little bit of sticky to her. So you might be able to get away without using heat tape, but don't use normal tape. That won't be wise. No. All right, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of sticky here. And then you can grab your dance one. And I might just trim that down. So remember, we want to try and have everything in one go. So we don't really want to layer unless we have absolutely no choice. So I'm just going to place this underneath that one. I can have it in position. Where do I want this to be? Okay, so now that I have my elements ready to go, I need to remove my t-shirt aligner up at the top, so we don't want that anymore. And I need to grab my butcher paper that's going to go over the top of this. And this really is going to help protect my easy press from the ink, just for in case. And then once your light is green on your easy press, it's ready to go. So grab your easy press. Remember, we want to not move it. So you really do have to try and get it to cover all of your elements. And then once you're ready, press that green C button so that it can start counting down. So keep it still. We only need a very light pressure with this one. So 30 seconds. Your temperature might jump around a bit and that's okay. Just let it do what it does. 20 seconds. 15. 10. 5 seconds, nearly done. Wait for that beep. There it is, and lift it off. Remove your baking paper or your butcher paper. And what we want to do is to peel this while it's still warm. And to do that, I'm going to grab tweezers because it's hot. This is hot. This is like a plastic. So I don't really want to burn my fingers. I think I can wait for it to cool down just a touch. I'm just going to remove the inside things so that it can cool down a bit faster. Okay, so that's pretty warm to the touch. And now we can pull away this design to reveal what's happened. I'm so excited. It's looking cool already. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I think my daughter's gonna love this. So cool. Looks amazing. Look at that. That is beautiful. Look at this. This color is just popping from the shirt. It's applied perfectly, no ghosting, nothing weird is happening, and it looks amazing. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. that's it. Your shirt is now officially ready, which is so exciting. I hope you enjoy making your very own Cricut Infusible shirt because it's tons of fun. It's kind of always like a little bit of a mystery and a present and a surprise to see what the colors turn out at the end, which just adds to the whole creative factor. I love it. All right, that's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.